on, everyone? I'm just a typical, average American here today to react and learn about what winter in Canada is like. And I am very interested in this topic because here in America, the Canadian winter is kind of legendary, maybe even blown out of proportion a bit. There's a lot of Americans that genuinely believe that all of Canada is covered in freezing winter and snow all year long. And I don't think that's true, but today I'm excited to actually learn about what winter in Canada is like and how you survive it. How do you Canadians do it? And the way I'm gonna do that is through this video here I'm excited to watch, which features two Canadians that are going to explain their experience in Canadian winter and how it goes and what they do and how they survive this winter and what it's like. So I'm real excited to see this. Let's take a look.
In this video, we want to show you how life is in winter here in Canada.
Okay. This is what it's like. This is what, there you go. I can end the video. Video's over. That's what it's like. Having to shovel and brush snow off everything all the time. That's what winter in Canada is.
So cold.
Oh my gosh.
One of the things people ask us about all the time is how we survive the winters in Canada. It can get really cold up here depending on where you are. Where I grew up, we got as low as -50. I've heard of temperatures reaching -70 in the Arctic.
-50? Is that Fahrenheit or Celsius or -50. -50 Fahrenheit is -45? Or did he mean Celsius, -50? I don't know. I'm scared either way. It's about the same. It turns out -50 in Celsius is about the same as Fahrenheit, which is, make no mistake, extraordinarily cold. I've never experienced cold that cold. I didn't know cold could be that cold. Or that I could say cold so many times in a row. That's ridiculous. But to his point, it kind of depends on how north or south you are in Canada, right? Although, even the most southern parts of Canada are colder, on average, than the United States, because the United States is just more south as a country. So that's something I kind of have grown to understand a bit more. Canadian winter and Canadian cold can vary depending on where you are in Canada. It's not just one big block of ice, that'll, like a lot of Americans assume. Okay.
And on average, we probably get -25, which is pretty cold. So people from warmer climates especially always ask us how we even survive.
Oh
One of them is our dad. He doesn't get how it works. How do the pipes not freeze? How do you stay warm at night? And how do you get to work?
Right. And how we don't freeze just stepping out the door.
How do you get to work? I feel like I've heard it before, and it makes sense. Canadians are like, Canadian society keeps going when the snow comes. It's a normal fact of life. But society here in the United States, when snow comes, like everyone is just like looking around like, what's going on? What is it? What is this white stuff? Shut down the schools! Shut down the stores! And Canadians are just like driving by in their car. Like, oh, hello, can you like move so I can get to work? And it's funny how different we react to cold and snow just because our different cultures. Oh, okay. Wait, did water in his little ice tray just freeze in the short time he was outside? Is that true? How does the blood in your body not freeze and you just turn into a statue at that point? Riddle me that, science. No. Canadians just must be built different to survive this stuff. Oh, okay. It's very cold. It looks very cold. And beautiful in a way. Oddly beautiful. Does the beauty of the snow and cold outweigh the discomfort that Canadians feel? That's a question I have. Is it ever, is the beauty and sort of the fun of the snow Does that ever feel like it's worth it to endure all the cold in winter? It's probably fun for a little bit, but then gets old real quick, right?
Every house in Canada has a heater. That's how we make it through the winter time. This is the thermostat, how we control the heat. So even though outside right now is minus 20, inside is plus 23. And the heat...
Oh my gosh. Canadians must rack up a crazy heating bill. I never thought of that. Trying to... The difference between the temperature outside and the temperature you want inside is crazy. Man, that must actually end up costing quite a bit, right? To get that heat going up to those levels. Wow.
Comes up through all these vents that are all over the house, and without them, I don't think we'd make it.
I mean, this is pretty standard in the United States as well. Heating, vents with heating and stuff. We just don't have to heat our homes as drastically compared to how cold it is outside.
Thanks to the heat, you can pretty much wear anything inside your house. You can even be naked and you're gonna be nice and cozy. But when you go outside, you need to be prepared.
Right.
So first thing, you need to have a nice jacket that keeps you warm. So
that is a nice jacket. A lot of Americans, like I know, like myself, like I only own like one jacket or maybe two. And it's for so much of the year, it never gets any use, and I definitely don't have a scarf. She has like a giant poofy scarf. It looks very warm. And that knitted hat, I don't know if most Canadians have gear like this, but seems pretty necessary. Like, and sort of a part of life that Americans don't even really think about until winter comes along. And then we're all scrounging around trying to find winter gear and stuff, because it's a pretty short and honestly pretty mild part of like the American year. Especially, you know, if you live down in Florida or Texas, it's literally not even gonna snow. Like it's not even gonna be, I don't know if they get under 60 or 50 degrees Fahrenheit there. It's kind of crazy. But that is a cool thing about living in the United States. It's so big, and so in this perfect zone on Earth, you can really pick like what kind of climate you want to live in based on the state. You can really choose if you want to live somewhere really hot, if you want to live like up north near the Canadian border, somewhere a little colder, or in the middle. It's just kind of the middle, which is nice. It's actually a nice thing about the US.
Most of the jackets are made with down because it's just a good insulator.
Oh.
Then you need a scarf. That's also like
the
to
scarf.
keep your neck warm, and also the cold doesn't go in.
I never see people wearing scarves in the United States. I bet you, now that I'm thinking about it, if you're really living north in the US, really close to Canada, like you're probably getting a similar winter. I bet those Americans are better at this with the scarves and that. But the vast majority, or at least a lot of Americans who live in the middle or a bit more south, like I never see people wearing scarves and stuff, which like just not really a thing.
And when it's very cold, you can cover your nose and mouth from the cold and wind. A toque and gloves. So one of the very first parts that get cold for you is your ears and your fingers. So it's nice to have them covered. And also your toes. So if you can have winter...
Some of this is like such good information, and then some of this other Canadian winter survival info is like, make sure to cover your toes. Like, I was not about to go out into the snow in my toes. Maybe some Americans need that information, but not me. I'm aware enough at least to cover my toes in the winter.
Shoes, that's the best because they're waterproof, so when there's snow outside, then they don't get wet, and then your feet get wet and cold.
True.
So that's nice. And for those days that is very, very, very cold, then you just pretty much dress in layers, and some of those layers are like a special, like underwear, that they have a special technology to keep you warm.
Whoa! Wait a minute. What is this? Hold up. I don't think she was anticipating this to be such an interesting part from an American's point of view. This is like long underwear, underpants with metal, shiny metal stuff on the inside. Is this some kind of weird Canadian technology that we don't know about? Or does that just keep you warm as can be somehow? Is it just a great insulator? I like that she's talking about dressing in layers. That makes a lot of sense. Because you can't, like, you can adjust for many different temperatures if you're wearing a lot of layers. If you go inside, you can take something off. If it gets colder or warmer, you can adjust with the layers. That's a good thought. I like that.
Warm as well. So now that we're ready, we can take Maya for a walk.
Okay.
Maya, it's a rescue dog from Cuba.
Oh man, in Canada, all of the little dogs have little. I hope this is really a thing in Canada, where a lot of the dogs have winter jackets. I don't think I've ever seen a dog in a legitimate winter jacket like this.
And even our doggies need a coat to keep themselves warm. Isn't it, Maya?
No way. Wow.
Oh, it's cold. Look.
Man. That is some snow.
In Canada, we have to be prepared for the winter. So, of course, when it snows a lot, you wouldn't be able to get out of your house. You wouldn't be able to drive your car. So the city actually has special trucks that come and clear the snow. And then we're responsible for our own...
Right. I mean, it takes a while sometimes, but most places in the U.S., yeah, most everywhere, eventually the snow plows come out. And sometimes even when it gets very bad, they put salt out. I assume the same kind of thing happens in Canada, except I bet the plowers in Canada are better, or like they have more practice or whatever, and they actually probably do a more efficient job, just because in a lot of parts of America, it's not common. It's like just a couple times a year for a lot of states in America where snow plows actually have to like come out and do something. So that's kind of a funny difference I'm thinking of.
So this is called a shovel. Basically,
it's called a shovel.
Just scoop up the snow like that, throw it to the side. That's how you get out of your house. And then we're also responsible for the sidewalk in front of the house so no one else slips.
It's funny also because I feel like Canadians like probably all do own a shovel and are used to shoveling the snow, clearing the driveway, clearing the sidewalk. I have noticed now that I listen to this, a lot of Americans do not even bother like shoveling their sidewalk or parts of their walkway to their front door. Americans will shovel the bare minimum of snow away to function, because it's not, you can kind of just wait it out. The circumstance doesn't happen all that often. So when it does, I feel like Americans are like, I'm going to do the bare minimum here, and the snow is going to be gone soon anyway. So it's like a whole different attitude to surviving winter than Canadians.
Then we have an ice pick. So sometimes it's actually ice underneath the snow. And then you have to...
Whoa, I have never seen an ice pick. I don't know if this is a normal part of the Canadian equipment, snow equipment. I think he called it an ice pick. Literally never seen this before. Genuinely. So this is like metal that scrapes ice off. Makes sense, not hard for me to grasp the idea, but I've never seen someone actually own one of these things. That is legit, that is serious. That probably like actually scrapes the ice off, huh? Better than like a plastic shovel. Wow, an ice pick, okay.
Basically scrape it up like that.
Huh. I like it.
And you have a broom if you want to really be clean about it. And then,
fancy.
When it's too much ice, we have kind of, usually it's like salt or other kinds of different chemicals.
Oh, you actually buy your own? Really? In Canada, is this normal for most Canadians to actually buy salt, like industrial grade melting salt for winter? Like you own it at your home. That is intense. Most Americans do not actually own like a pack of salt. I'm sure some do. And again, you know, there's Americans who live a lot more north in America, in the United States. A lot more north than I do. And those Americans probably do have to like have salt, and maybe they do own an ice pick, you know. I'm just talking about, you know, my experience living in more the middle and southern areas of the United States and experiencing that. And yeah, but I didn't know about the salt you can buy at home. It's probably really nifty.
Sometimes there's even lava rocks now, and you put those down and that helps to melt the snow so you don't slip and fall. So this is kind of like daily life in the wintertime, especially when you own a house.
Oh, that's daily life. This is just yeah, that's a whole other thing to think about as well. The idea of having to do this constantly is a bit foreign to me. That is, Canadians have to do a lot of work. Oh my God. I'm kind of curious here. Like, just for reference right now, here in November, what the temperature in like Toronto is. 30 Fahrenheit, which would be -1 Celsius. In Toronto. Man, that is, oh my God. It's already 30. It's already -1 in Toronto. What about like Quebec City? 31 Fahrenheit, which would be -5 Celsius. Celsius sounds much more intense. Negative numbers, my God. But I know what 31 Fahrenheit is, and that is cold for November. If I pull up a temperature map of the United States right now, you can see the difference. I mean, I'm talking about a small part of Canada here, comparing it to Toronto and like Quebec City. But if those are 30 or -1 Celsius, most of the United States right now, like in the South, it's 70 Fahrenheit, and 60 Fahrenheit. In a lot of places, 15 Celsius right now in a lot of the southern United States. In the middle here, it's like 40. I see a lot of 40s, 50s, some 30, 35, 45, like 45 Fahrenheit, 7 degrees Celsius. 7 degrees Celsius in a lot of the middle of the United States. And then in the north of the United States, well, the Northeast by Canada is like 30, 27, 28. So that's similar. But then Michigan is 37 somehow. How is Michigan, and actually a lot of the northern United States right now is like 45, 40, 45, 40? Like how is Michigan 4 degrees and then Toronto -1? Is that correct? Yeah, -1. How does that work? I don't know. Somehow nature knows. As soon as Canada begins, start the cold. So there you go. That's like just a cool reference for me right now. As winter is starting to approach, as temperatures are starting to drop, it's still fairly like okay in a lot of parts of the United States. But in like Toronto, for instance, it's already getting down to -1 Celsius, which feel like that is already quite cold. So that's kind of a fun way of already looking at. I'll be interested to make some comparisons in temperature when actual winter is here as well.
And then you'll see here we have a plug-in. So something we do here is we actually plug in the cars. This is just an extension cord.
Plug in the car?
Basically, there's a plug-in. I won't be able to find it because it's under the trunk, but you plug in the car and basically it keeps the engine warm. Otherwise...
What? Wait, what? Is this a normal thing? Is this another normal Canadian thing, like ice picks and salt that I don't know about? You're plugging in your car. You're plugging in your car, not because it's an electric car. It's like a normal car, I think, to keep the engine warm. Because what happens in the winter? It can like stall out or stop working, or
in the car, and basically it keeps the engine warm. Otherwise, sometimes when it gets -30, -40, your car doesn't start.
Oh, because it's so cold for so long in Canada, your car engine needs to be heated like at all times, like constantly by plugging it in? I'm a little confused on the details, but that's really interesting and kind of an annoyance that a lot of Americans don't have to deal with, I'm happy to say. Wow, interesting.
And then you're stuck, so that helps make that happen. And then of course, as you can imagine, sometimes you wake up to go to work in the morning and your car is covered in snow.
Yes.
You just got a fresh snowfall, and this is what the vehicle looks like in the morning.
He literally just went to bed and knew his car was going to look like this the next day. That's crazy. Oh my god. So you can just expect this. In the heart of Canadian winter, you can just expect to go to bed and wake up and your car is going to be covered in like a blanket of snow like this.
So it's not actually that cold today. It's probably -5 maybe or something.
Okay, it's pretty cold.
But this is what we got to do in the mornings before going to work.
Sure. This is all like, you know, not something I'm totally unfamiliar with, brushing snow off of the car. It's just like nice that I guess I don't have to do it all that often, like not that many times a year. I guess that's kind of the difference. We have discovered brushes here in America and brushing cars. So
I mean, it snows.
Oh, it's actually a lot of snow. Look at that.
Is it heavy?
No, it's like a light snow, I think.
Oh.
Ooh.
There we go. Canadian winter morning life. What technique? Oh wow, the windshield wiper technique. Very good.
So show them the item that you like remove the snow with.
This thing?
Yeah.
I think it's called a snow brush.
Oh yeah.
But it basically has one side. This is the brush for taking off the snow like I've been doing, and this one is if there's ice on the windshield. So
I feel it's so funny because it's totally random what kind of stuff they explain. Like, the plugging into the car and the ice pick and the salt is kind of strange to me. But then they're like, and this here is a brush. You might never have heard of it. It's like, yes, I do know about a brush, brushing your car, the snow off your car. I know that one.
On a colder day, you might get some ice, so then you gotta shave the ice off.
Sure.
Or else you can't see out the windshield.
Winter not only brings low temperatures, but also a lot of fun activities.
Right. Oh, I'm glad they're emphasizing this part. That's really good, actually, because winter in Canada, I like to think, is not all pain and suffering. But also, Canadians take advantage of it. Embrace the winter. There's snow, there's fun activities you can do, and I think when the winter is, like, longer and more extreme, that's a really, like, cool way of approaching it, you know? Hit the slopes or something. Oh yeah, a little skiing. Dang. See, this is the cool part. This is a really cool part of winter in Canada. Is that there is places like this, covered in snow. Absolutely covered. Like, even in winter, in a lot of places, in the United States, in a lot of places, in winter, for snowboarding and skiing resorts in America, they have to bring out fake snow pumpers, like these cannons that create fake snow and shoot it everywhere, because there's just not enough for sometimes, especially depending on the year, if it's a warmer year or what have you. I mean, some years, like there's not hardly any snow at all, honestly. It's Christmas and there's no snow. I've had that happen many times, actually. Anyway, so this is kind of showing the cool part of snow, which I like. Oh my god.
One of the things.
That's something. There, like, lakes do freeze over in America, but I would be so nervous to ever step on one. I feel like in Canada, the temperature is dependably cold enough where Canadians are probably not that nervous, or maybe know better, or know when it's safe to step on ice. I have no idea when it's safe. I've never gotten to step on a frozen lake because I don't really trust it being the proper coldness or density or whatever, but I feel like in Canada, you can probably trust it a lot of the time in the heart of winter. Oh, that's cool.
One of the things that I love about the winter is the snow.
Oh yeah, you love it and hate it. If I made this video, if I was a Canadian making a what winter in Canada is like, it would just be a video of me like bundled in a blanket, in 7 blankets, just shivering inside on the couch by the fire. That'd be the whole video. So, so I enjoy them showing the outdoors here.
We hope you enjoyed this video and that we answered your question about what Canada's like in the winter time. Do you have any other questions?
Yeah, that did give me a cool example of what kind of life in Canadian winter is like. And this is by Must Do Canada. And I got to give this video a like because that was really enjoyable. A really cool look into Canadian winter and some of the stuff they have to do and some of the equipment they have and how to bundle up in layers and get salt and picks and make sure your engine doesn't freeze and having to wake up most days and clean your car off. And there seems to be a lot of pros and cons to Canadian winter. And something I really took away from this is I think Americans kind of exaggerate how extreme winter is in Canada. That's something I was alluding to at the beginning of this video. Like, it basically just seems like what a lot of Americans experience for a very short amount of time, Canadians experience more of, longer and a bit more colder. That's the difference. And, you know, that can be a pretty substantial difference. It's not nothing. But, I mean, compared to Americans that think all Canadians live in the snow all year, living in igloos, like, just those stereotypes that are just way blown out of proportion. The Canadian winter is definitely more intense. There's no mistake about that. So this was really cool to learn a bit more about. So I enjoyed it. Anyway, if you enjoyed this as well, feel free to give this video a like or leave a comment, perhaps with your thoughts on winter in Canada. And if you think it's extreme or how much more extreme it is than winter in the United States, or maybe it depends on where you live in Canada. And if you're interested in more videos like this, me reacting to Canada and Canadian culture, feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, thanks for watching and see you next time.